My first job the next morning was to get Nazreen Baji's breakfast tray ready to bring up to her. The meal was a simple one: tea, toast with a dollop of jam, and a plate of sliced apples. Mumtaz showed me where the trays and teacups were kept in the kitchen before I left to sweep the terrace. I turned on the chai percolator, and arranged the tray. Nabila wiped down the countertop with the sink next to the sink. Holy cow. Fatima swept up crumbs from the floor while her father stored chopped vegetables in the refrigerator. As I waited for the water to get hot, I looked out the window. With Jawad Sahib gone, the servants were relaxed and our veranda was busy. Tokir, the elderly servant who dusted and swept the main level of the estate, rested on the Sharpay. Sagufta sat on the bench and chatted with another cleaning girl. The gardener was still holding a clipper in one hand as he was drinking tea and chatting with a few other men. When the chai was ready, I poured it into a porcelain cup etched with hummingbirds. Fatima tugged at my kameez. You want to try some? Try what? I asked. The chai, Fatima said. I can get you a cup from the other cupboard. I don't think I'm allowed. If they don't find out, then it's not wrong. That's what Nabila always says. She sneaks things all the time. Hush! Nabila glowered at the girl. Fatima reddened and hurried to the back of the kitchen. She's just a kid, I told Nabila. She doesn't mean anything by it. You don't get to come here for a day and tell me what she did or didn't mean. I wanted to ask her what her problem was, but I bit my tongue. She could hate me for whatever reason she wanted, I thought. My father was collecting money for me at this very moment, and soon enough, I'd be gone. Mumtaz hadn't mentioned how much sugar Nazreen Baji took. So to be safe, I placed 5 sugar cubes in a crystal bowl and set it on the tray. What are you doing? Nabila frowned at my tray. Why aren't you using the proper breakfast tray? Proper breakfast tray? I got this one from the drawer Mumtaz showed me. There's more than one drawer. She smirked and pointed to a cabinet under the sink. She uses the pink one with the gold trim for breakfast. Always has. I walked over to the sink and leaned down to open the cupboard and sift through the fancy plates and serving dishes. I craned my neck. There were no trays. Would Nazreen Baji be angry if I served her breakfast on the wrong tray? When I walked back to the counter, the tray I'd prepared was missing. She took it. Fatima sat cross-legged peeling potatoes. She took it, she repeated. Probably went to Nazreen Baji herself. I rushed down the hall and up the stairs into Nazreen Baji's bedroom. Nabila stood in front of Nazreen Baji, holding the tray in her hands. I'm sorry, Nabila's voice shook. I wanted to make sure you had it exactly the way you liked it. But you're not my maidservant anymore, Nabila. You understand that, don't you? She looked down at the ground and nodded. Go on now and check with Mumtaz to see what needs to be done in the kitchen. Nabila set down the tray on the nightstand by the bed and rushed past me. Her elbow bumped sharply into me. I walked over to Nazreen Baji and mixed in her sugar. 2 cubes, she told me, like my mother. I'll make it the right amount of sugar next time. I handed her the cup. And I'm sorry about the tray. I should have paid better attention. Nabila is having a difficult time adjusting to a new situation. Nazreen Baji took a sip of tea. She was my maidservant before you came. She was? But why did you replace her with me? I blurted out. Nabila is a good girl, but she just made too many mistakes. The timing of your arrival was perfect. I was planning to replace her anyway. I carried the tray back down the stairs to the kitchen and thought about Nabila. It was clear she despised me almost since the moment I arrived, but now it made sense. My life had changed overnight, but so had hers. Some of us are trying to work. You might want to try it, Nabila said to me later that week as I made my way down the stairs carrying Nazreen Baji's empty breakfast tray. Nabila was dusting the chandelier with a long brush and shot me one of her hateful glances as I passed. I could have stated the obvious. I was working, wasn't I? But what was the point? It looked like I had an enemy whether I liked it or not. I rinsed out the teacups and glanced out of the window. A breeze swept through the trees. A handful of servants rested on the Sharpay. Maybe I could get a chance today and step outside for a little while and feel the fresh air against my face. Fatima poked her head into the kitchen. Nazreen Baji wants to see you right away. I dried my hands against a towel and hurried upstairs. Nazreen Baji was about to shower when I left. What could have happened? When I stepped inside, Nazreen Baji stared at her armoire. She wore a teal blue robe. Her lips were pressed together into a thin line. Amal, what did you do? She pulled out a silk shalwell kameez from the armoire. I gasped. The kameez was charred straight through the center. I had ironed it along with 3 other outfits yesterday. I took care to use the gentlest setting. It took nearly an hour to press out all the wrinkles. Burning this is bad enough, she said, but to hide it from me as if I wouldn't notice? Burn it? But Nazreen Baji, I shouldn't have assumed you knew how to handle expensive fabrics like these. You're not to touch my things again until Mumtaz goes over all the settings with you. Understood? But I knew how to iron. Just because we were not as rich as she was doesn't mean I had never handled nice things. But I saw her expression. She'd already made up her mind. She wouldn't believe me. I'm sorry, I mumbled before leaving the room. When I walked into the kitchen, Nabila was there. Too bad about the ironing, she said. What? I didn't. My voice trailed off. I'd be careful, she said, brushing past me. Nazreen Baji does not tolerate mistakes very well.